I want to bring up one other thing before I turn the show over to you guys, and that's this Gone with the Wind thing. The Orpheum Theater, I think, is in Tennessee. They have an annual summer program in which the showing of Gone with the Wind is a tradition. This past showing, they got a lot of complaints, I guess, that the film is racist, that it's immoral, irresponsible of the venue to show it. So caving into that, wanting to be a family-friendly venue, they vowed to stop showing Gone with the Wind. And I will just say this. People need to grow the fuck up. Secondly, I mean, there's a lot of value in Gone with the Wind, obviously. It is complicated in our modern culture because there are elements of it that we should be uncomfortable with. That's fine. History, film history, American history, whatever history, is all about context. Figure out what the hell the movie, the time in which the film was made, the point of view of the characters represented in the film, and if it's inconsistent with what's conceivable of those characters at that time, then you can complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, okay, so let me bring up a movie like Das Boot, for instance. Okay, so we've got Das Boot, great movie. No one can dispute that Das Boot is a great movie, but it's about Nazis trying to win the war over the Allies. But does it make it does it because it's about Nazis and you're rooting for it actually makes you root for them? You want the submarine to get past all the depth charges. You want them to survive. But does that, because it's about Nazis, does it make it a movie that can't be shown anymore? This is the same kind of thing that's going on with Gone with the Wind. Yes, there are some offensive things, like Vivian Lee slapping Butterfly McQueen, after lying about whether she can birth Melanie's baby or not, and I guess some people might see the subservience of Mammy and Big Sam as some kind of, I guess, an insult to the black race. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe that's a problem with my own, inherent, I guess, racism, I suppose. I think they're treated with respect in the movie, but I don't think the movie is about slavery. I really, Jeffrey Wells wrote something that's really good, and I want to quote it here. It's a movie about A, a struggle to survive under ghastly conditions, and B, about how those with brass and gumption often get through the rough patches better than those who embrace goodness and generosity and playing by the rules. This is a fundamental human truth. And if you ask me, the reason Gone with the Wind has resonated for so long is that generation after generation has recognized this. If you want to survive, you have to be tough and scrappy and sometimes worry about the proprieties later on. Anyone who's ever faced serious adversity understands the eloquence of that classic Scarlett O'Hara line, "I'll never be hungry again." Gone with the Wind particularly connected with 1939 audiences because they saw it as a parable of the deprivations that people had gone through during the Great Depression. I think that's a very, very smart assessment of. You're right. People have to grow up, and I don't think that if we're going to start throwing out Gone with the Wind, the biggest movie ever made, literally. If we're going to start throwing that kind of thing out, then pretty much all of film history is up on the board to be thrown out too.
Yeah.
So if that's what you want to do, if you want to just throw out all of history because they weren't quite up to the level of compassion that we supposedly have now, even though it really doesn't seem like things really have changed all that much, then okay, no more movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the air.
So,
Whatever it is, it's in the air now, because Gone with the Wind has been around for almost 80 years now. So, and it's the academics have argued over this stuff, but in terms of the general public, it hasn't really been any point of contention. People have fully embraced that movie because they love the journey of the title character. You know, the entitled snobby bitch that that finds her self-sufficiency and pulls up her bootstraps and finally blossoms into a woman by the end of it. You know, and they like the romance between her and Clark Gable that gets her to that point. I mean, it's really simple.
That's what the movie is about. It's not about the Civil War. It's not about slavery. It's about her giving up her childish love of Ashley Wilkes, this childish sort of fantasy love, and moving on to even past, using romance as a way to define herself, and really moving past that into morphing herself into like a successful businesswoman who can operate as an independent. She doesn't need anybody at the end of the movie. She doesn't need anybody. She doesn't need Rhett. She doesn't need Ashley. She's moving on. She's going to move on, you know. And so that it's a movie about female empowerment. That's the way we should look at it. That is the positive way that we should look at the movie. We shouldn't look at it as a movie about slavery and okaying slavery, because really it portrays the South as fools. Because they're like, yay, we're going to go to war. Yay, at the beginning of it. And then they come back, oh, we got our asses kicked. You know. So, you know, I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. It's a bad decision. And but I'll tell you what, if here in Atlanta, where they show Gone with the Wind pretty regularly at the Fox Theater here, if they ever cancel it here, then it's really over with, because this is our movie. You know?
That's it. I mean, for Atlanta, it was. I mean, it really put Atlanta on the map in terms of cinema. I mean, that was as big an event as you'll ever find in Hollywood when that film premiered in Atlanta.
Yes. Yep. So I mean, it's still revered here, and but again, once that page is turned here, you know, then it really is over for the movie in some ways. So it's heartbreaking to me, I think, because I still, as great a year as 1939 is, with things like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Stagecoach and Wuthering Heights, I still think that Gone with the Wind is the best movie of that year. It just is.
Yeah, it can't be avoided. I mean, in terms of pure cinema, it is. You know, I think it speaks to something. You know, it does speak to a kind of irrational sensitivity, but it also speaks to where we are now with movie culture, I think, where everything is disposable. So why should we care if we get rid of like an 80-year-old classic? Why should we pretend like that era didn't happen? I mean, we don't care about it anyway. We just care about what we can watch on TV and then erase from our DVR as soon as we check it off our list. And that's the lifespan that most movies have with modern audiences, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure. I'd love to know like some kind of statistics on among movie lovers, how many movie lovers are really watching movies of the old movies. Anything before the year that they were born. I'd like to.
By the way,
I'd like to know that.
we have it's I think it's our third most popular YouTube clip, and it's one of our most popular podcasts. We have a Gone with the Wind show where we talk to Michael Schrago, critic.
Uh-huh.
He wrote a book, I think, about Clark Gable, and then we also talked to Molly Haskell about the character of Vivian Lee, and it's like a must listen to. Like if you really want to delve into that movie and in terms of gender politics and historically what the movie meant and its content, that's a good place to start.
I'm going to listen to that.
Yeah, me too.
Adam, any thoughts on Gone with the Wind? I'm sorry, we've been talking over you.
Well, no. You guys were on a roll. I didn't want to, interrupt, but no, I totally agree. This political correctness run rampant is just really, and I'm a liberal kind of guy. I mean, ran for political office once upon a time, and so I mean, I believe in fighting for the good of the common people, but this is just. It's getting ridiculous with things like this, and it doesn't give progressives like myself. It doesn't give us a good name when everybody's complaining at the least little thing that offends them, and this touchy-feely thing is really. I think it's getting a little bit overboard. I know it's.
It comes from a good place, but too much of something, too much of anything is bad.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's it doesn't matter if it's ice cream or anything. It's just too much is you're going too far. So.
Well,
by the way, Adam, when you said they were going overboard, that's when we know we're doomed. If they ever ban the movie Overboard. If they ever ban it, if they ever say something like it's unfair to people who suffer from that terrible amnesia, she was essentially raped.
The climate we live in, it would not surprise me, to be quite honest. It really wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yes, it's true.
It seems like every single day there's something that somebody has really gotten their feelings hurt over, and when we were growing up, we just shrugged it off. It's like, it's not my cup of tea, but hey, I enjoy it if you want to, dude. It's like, we just shrugged it off, and now it's like
I can't remember a time like this.
No.
In my lifetime, at least.
Yeah, and
This is new.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, it's one thing to say I have I don't like this. This is offensive to me, but to you're taking it to a whole other level by saying it's not only offensive to me, it's going to be offensive to you because I'm going to see to it that it is.
Yeah. We are going to deny you the opportunity to make your own opinion. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what's
dangerous.
Really egregious about it.
It is, and it's dangerous. It's really dangerous as well. So.
It is.
But
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really needs to be talked about.
It does. Yeah.
Even if you hate Gone with the Wind, because I know people out there that are like, oh God, I hate Gone with the Wind. I don't want to. Usually because it's like they view it as saccharine romantic stuff. Like phony baloney bullshit. But and other people have real problems with it. But even if you hate the movie, you understand how beloved it is, and you understand the importance of keeping it out. It's important place in film history, and that itself needs to be preserved.
And plus, you can see it right in front of your eyes that it is one of the most beautifully produced movies ever. It just on all levels. It is produced with such care. It was and it was produced in that way under incredible duress because of the way the movie was made, the expectations that the movie had. It was a huge novel. It was a big property, the biggest property in Hollywood at the time. Mm-hmm. Every star under the sun went and auditioned for it. It went through 3 or 4 different directors, and under the eye of David Selznick, who was absolutely tenacious in the making of the movie. When you take all that stuff into account, the fact that it could have been a massive failure and that it succeeded so well because of the care that went into it. The people who made it cared about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the reason they cared about it was because it was a great story. It is a great story. And even if you think you hate it, you should go back and watch it again, because what you will discover is a 4-hour movie that speeds by and feels like it's 90 minutes long. That's talent.
Yeah.
When you can do something like that, that is you're seeing absolute undistilled talent.
And if you could have a hand in Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz in the same year, that's isn't that like the ultimate 1-2 punch? I mean, we talked about Spielberg,
the ultimate,
or Soderbergh,
or Coppola even. It's like that's the ultimate.